Each gray knight emerges from torment and loss, their recollections wiped clean, their human essence torn away, their psyches reshaped to contain the Emperor's wrath. They confront abominations that would shatter any ordinary space marine. Yet what occurs when such a tool recalls its former life as a person? I count among the rare few who retain those echoes, not through any leniency, but because I was crafted into this form deliberately. Remembrance serves as our foe within the Ordo Malleus. Grasping too deeply the shadows beyond the shroud invites taint. Still, I remain here, Brother Justinicar Malleus of the Seventh Brotherhood, a paradox shaped in the fires of the Emperor's harshest compassion. They claim we arise amid bloodshed and suffering. They err. We arise in heresy. The icy gales of Titan lash at my contemplation cell. Saturn's satellite shelters us, the Grey Knights, the Emperor's ultimate decree against humanity's direst peril. Within halls of silver and adamantium, we ready ourselves for conflicts that history dare not etch. I prostrate myself at the altar of our progenitor, my plate stripped off, my marred skin bared to the sharp chill. Every mark etches a stolen recollection, a fragment of my prior self, offered up to create space for the evolution I required. 666 rites of cleansing, matching the demon lords our chapter has documented since inception. My form carries the imprint of every rite, silver sigils sunk into my tissue, safeguards against takeover that sear still, 10,000 days since their initial incision. The ache endures. It ought to. Suffering brings focus in a cosmos rife with deceit. I recall the moment they conveyed me to Titan. I was youthful, around 7 standard Terran years, although chronology fades for warp-touch souls. They discovered me amid the debris of a hive on Cadia, encircled by my kin's slain bodies, all felled by a demon of Tsench, save for me. I had eradicated it solely through my thoughts, a psionic blast that scorched the entity from existence. Yet it had branded me too, implanting a fragment of its corruption within my spirit. The interrogators declared I deserved instant termination, but one of their number, a figure whose features now escape me, perceived promise. He envisioned a blade that might be hammered from my corrupted state. The initial recollection they seized was my identity, not via machines or mind powers, but through raw, relentless drilling. For a full year, I answered only to lad, initiate, or scum. Any effort to utter my given name drew punishment so fierce that my skeleton splintered beneath the surface. By year's end, even deliberate effort failed to summon it. By the third, I ceased the pursuit. Once they judged me sufficiently hollowed, they commenced refilling. Starting with insights into the adversary, interminable tomes of prescribed lore, outlining chaos's essence, the authentic titles of demons, the warp's insidious sway. Wisdom that would unhinge ordinary minds flooded my brain like searing alloy into a cast. Those who crumbled beneath the pressure vanished into the darkness. We uttered no word of their fate thereafter. Survivors advanced to the subsequent trial of our forging. Bodily alteration followed, the grafting of gene seed. For standard Astartes, this ordeal spans years. For our kind, it condensed into months of unrelenting torment. Our frames rebelled against the hallowed implants with greater ferocity than any lineage, our innate psychic essence clashing with the alien biology. From the 30 aspirants who started alongside me, merely 12 endured. I hold their cries in memory, not from seeing their ends, but from the telepathic residues scorched into the bastion's stonework. In profoundest trance, their voices sometimes resound anew. Next arrived the neural reshaping, esoteric operations by our Brotherhood's mightiest librarians. They severed segments of my awareness like artisans trimming a miniature tree, excising any vulnerability chaos might exploit. Terror, hesitation, pity for foes, all removed with exacting care. In their stead, they instilled automated responses and mental cues, enabling safe unleashing of my abilities, free from peril of infestation. The culminating rite was soul forging. We journeyed to Terra, to the Golden Throne. There, amid the remnants of the Emperor, our essences were branded with his sacred might. No mortal tongue can capture this agony. It resembles inversion of the self, each particle of existence dismantled and restrung with luminous blaze. Some whisper it's the nearest a mortal draws to oblivion while reclaiming life. I grasp only that upon completion, I transcended my former identity. A portion of me, now tied to him, an unceasing awareness at my psyche's edge, observing, assessing, poised to consume me if I waver. Upon finishing, I emerged as Brother Malleus, Grey Knight of the Seventh Brotherhood, my history reduced to cinders, my destiny endless conflict, my now unending watchfulness. We are the Emperor's ultimate decree, his argent projectiles targeted at the core of the ultimate adversary. We pursue no fame or acclaim. In truth, those we rescue will remain oblivious to our very being. Citizens of the Imperium who glimpse our actions face execution or neural erasure as standard procedure. It's preferable they imagine their realm devastated by epidemic or internal strife, rather than uncover the horrors hidden behind the curtain of existence. For 300 years I have dutifully served, enduring 3 centuries of conflicts that no annals of imperial lore will ever chronicle. 3 centuries observing planets engulfed in flames to halt the proliferation of infernal taint. 3 centuries putting down faithful subjects of the Imperium, their sole offense being exposure to forbidden knowledge. Such is the weight we bear. Such is the cost of embodying the sovereign's concealed instrument of retribution. And now, within the solitude of my quarters, the anticipated call arrives. Another assignment, a realm in jeopardy, a fiend ascending. The pattern repeats, as it invariably will, as it eternally must. The strategy room is stark, mirroring every chamber in our bastion cloister. No embellishments grace the surfaces, except the wards of safeguarding carved into the argent-clad barriers. 8 fellow warriors await my entry, positioned in flawless alignment encircling the core holographic emitter. Silence prevails. None utter a sound, nor is it required. Our psyches graze one another's. Subtle mental murmurs affirm my arrival, sparing the awkwardness of speech. Grandmaster Varden presides over the assembly. His weathered visage, a lattice of cicatrices and cybernetic grafts. 9 centuries of devotion have eroded most traces of his primal physique. Nevertheless, his intellect cuts like a scalpel. His mental aura exerts an oppressive force, compelling even seasoned comrades to redirect their inner reflections. When he intones, his timbre has decreed the annihilation of star systems, a timbre that has decreed purges, mandated the immolation of multitudes to preserve exponentially greater numbers, a timbre untouched by uncertainty. The orb of Phobos Terces has succumbed. He informs us, formerly a haven for the Adeptus Astra Telepathica, it sheltered myriad nascent psychers, those judged potent enough to aid the Imperium, yet not wholly mastered. 3 days prior, all contact with the sphere vanished. A lone telepathic dispatch pierced the void before quietude descended. Merely 3 terms. They are coming. An inquisitorial craft from an adjacent sector rerouted for scrutiny. They discovered the sphere mutated. Where training halls and contemplative halls once stood, warped pinnacles of sinew and osseous matter now rise. Where the sphere once radiated the brilliance of mortal warp talent, it now throbs with the perverse cadences of the Empyrean. The Inquisitor mandated instant isolation and beseeched our aid. This is commonplace. We have purged tainted spheres in the past, yet Varden unveils the profound dread rendering this endeavor singular. Phobos Terces contained more than 1 million psychers, 1 million consciousnesses brushed by the immaterium, now surrendered to anarchy. The agonized warp shriek of their fall has rent a rift in the fabric of being, a portal whence an eldritch presence emerges. The Inquisition suspects a supreme demon, perchance a demon prince, harnessing the aggregated warp vitality of the doomed psychers to incarnate within the corporeal plane. Our task stands straightforward in purpose, if arduous in practice. We shall descend upon the nexus of the blight. We shall pinpoint the being directing this outrage against the sovereign. We shall eradicate it, purging its essence from creation via bolter, edge, and warp flame. Thereafter, the Inquisition shall sanctify the residue through the sacred inferno of exterminatus, 9 of us confronting the perversions of 1 million spirits, 9 argent champions arrayed against the abyss of the Empyrean. Such probabilities hold no sway over us. This defines our essence. This justifies our survival through the ordeals of Genesis. This rationalizes our forfeiture of mortality. As Varden wraps the discourse, he delineates our duties. I am designated Justixar for this venture, leader of the assault cadre in his stead. I receive this distinction with a mere inclination. Distinctions hold scant value among us. They signify mere fulfillment of obligation, not triumphs for revelry. Yet, to guide my kin into such confrontation awakens a remnant within me I believed long purged, a subtle spark of vanity. We disperse to the vaults where the chapter surfs, array our armament in reverent hush. These unenhanced humans, their minds scoured and shielded from the warp, attend us sans full comprehension of our nature or the peril ahead. Their unawareness shields them. Even so, they perceive the solemnity of our charge in the rigidity of our postures, the strain in our warp presences. My aegis plate is presented, every segment consecrated and etched with safeguards. The slate ceramite panels bear embedded argent emblems, each a bulwark versus fiendish sway. As the serfs secure each element, I intone the catechisms of sanctity, centering my psyche on the challenge that lies before us. My armor serves as far more than mere bodily shielding. It's a sacred stronghold, a bulwark safeguarding my spirit amid the impending conflict. Then I grasp my adversary's edge, halberd, an exquisitely forged armament infused with my psychic essence across endless years of wielding. Its edge shimmers with a subtle azure glow, reacting to my grasp like a living entity. In reality, a fragment of my core lingers inside the blade, rendering it as much an appendage of my intent as my own limb. Through its power, I've expelled horrors beyond mortal words, rupturing their bonds to the physical world and hurling them into the chaotic void of their origin. Lastly, I seize my storm bolter, inspecting its hallowed inner workings with the meticulous care ingrained over innumerable eras. Every bolt in its clip has received divine consecration, their shells etched with tiny invocations of ruin. Upon discharge, each projectile unleashes not only shattering force, but a sliver of the Emperor's fury. As I array myself in full battle readiness, a chaplain draws near, his ebon plating stark against our gleaming silver, his death's head visor concealing any hint of the visage below. He bears 9 tiny phials of holy unguent. We drop to our knees before him in sequence, and sequentially, he marks our temples with the oil, tracing the sigil of the Ordo Malleus on each forehead. This culminating rite transcends mere tradition. The unguent holds flecks of argent and psi-infused crystals that will bolster our link to the Emperor within the tainted realm we're poised to breach. Once the ceremonies conclude, we proceed to the docking vault where our assault vessel stands ready. The Spear of Dawn, survivor of countless covert crusades, its frame etched with scars incomprehensible to any mechanicus adept beyond our fellowship, lesions from armaments alien to the corporeal plane. As we embark, the customary burden of solitude weighs on my frame. Departing Titan, we'll navigate the void unaccompanied, 9 champions pitted against the infinite venom of the warp. This truth stirs no dread in me. Terror was scorched from my psyche eons past, but I grasp the strategic peril of our plight. Victory is imperative, lest Phobos Tertius transform into a launchpad for infernal invasion, imperiling the whole sector. Our transit to the target spans 17 days in the warp, 17 days devoted to contemplation and readiness, poring over scant inquisitorial data, sharpening our psyches and forms for the ordeal awaiting. 17 days to steel ourselves for what might prove our ultimate stand in the Emperor's name. With the assault cruiser severing ties to Titan's orbit, I withdraw to my chamber. Encircled by defensive runes and effigies of the Emperor, I commence the initial round of numerous contemplations. I purge my thoughts of all irrelevancies, centering solely on the objective forward. In the quiet gaps amid my reflections, a sound emerges, a murmur so subtle it could pass for fancy. Yet our doctrine warns that fancy is yet another frailty, another rift for disorder to invade. The murmur doesn't amplify, yet it lingers undiminished. It hovers at awareness's fringe, akin to a dream's remnant at dawn. Protocol demands I alert the chaplain at once to this irregularity. Every conceivable breach requires confrontation, every flaw eradication. Nevertheless, I pause. The tone bears no warp's foulness. It seems oddly recognizable, like a reverberation from some buried recollection. It might simply stem from weariness, born of the unrelenting watchfulness our order demands. It could be illusory. Nonetheless, as our craft plunges into the warp's turbulent delirium, I resolve on a path that will reshape my fate. I elect to withhold this murmur from my comrades, at minimum until its essence clarifies. It's my inaugural concealment from kin in 300 years of duty, the initial strand of personal divergence in an existence forged by shared resolve. Whether this judgment heralds insight or ruin remains unseen. I sense merely that as the murmur persists, gentle and unrelenting at my mind's periphery, an ancient quiescence within stirs anew. Not demonic rot, not pollution, but a peril far graver to my ilk. A force I believed uprooted from my form amid the forging ordeals. Inquisitiveness. The warp's abyss engulfs our ship, existence stripped away to expose the roiling lunacy beneath. Our Geller's shield endures, forging a pocket of true reality that shields us from the predators eager to rend our essences at the merest lapse. Inside this tenuous haven, we ready ourselves. Our routine observances remain steadfast, 6 hours of martial training, pitting us against one another in rotation, refining our prowess with sword and firearm. 4 hours of mind fortification drills, fortifying our cerebral walls against the decay lurking on Phobos Tertius. 2 hours of devotion, deepening our ethereal tie to the Emperor. The leftover time splits among enemy analysis, upkeep of our battle kit, and the short intervals of, despite the minimal rest our augmented bodies demand. That faint murmur endures throughout, neither intensifying nor fading, a steady echo at the edge of my perception. During the 3rd day of transit, it shapes into actual words for the initial time. Remember, it intones, this lone term echoing like an incantation. Remember, remember, contradicting the lessons drilled into me that my history holds no value, that the individual I once embodied prior to my induction as a Grey Knight perished. His recollections pose a possible conduit for taint. We emerge reborn in the Emperor's devotion. Our former existences reduced to dust strewn amid the cosmos. Duty alone merits recollection. The foe alone demands comprehension. Still, the term lingers, a nagging stone lodged in the soul of my mind, resistant to removal or dismissal. Remember. By the 7th day, I train alongside Brother Varric in melee exercises. Though he trails me by a full century in age, his mastery of the Nemesis Force Sword surpasses all in our assault team. As our weapons clash within the sparring enclosure, his mental aura grazes mine, a routine exchange among our brethren to hone wartime mind links. In that instant of linkage, his psyche stiffens with warning. He has detected the murmur. He breaks off the engagement, retreating 3 measured paces, blade raised in guard. His gaze, the sole exposed feature beneath his helm, sharpens with doubt and worry. "You stand tainted, brother," he declares, voicing it both verbally and via our shared psychic bond. "An intruder lurks in your psyche where none should dwell. I offer no denial. Deceit ranks among the frailties we have eradicated from our essence. I acknowledge the irregularity, a murmur devoid of any chaos corruption I can identify. I justify my choice to observe it first, before alerting others, presenting it as strategic evaluation rather than the intrigue it actually embodies." Varric remains skeptical. Regulations require him to notify the chaplain, who would then probe my mind psychically and, if needed, enact cleansing rites to purge my thoughts anew. Should the murmur prove a sly demonic ploy, such steps would suit perfectly. If otherwise, my omission constitutes dereliction, meriting discipline regardless. Yet, as Varric parts his lips to summon the chaplain, the murmur in my head shifts. It ceases mere repetition of remember. Instead, it addresses me pointedly, insistently, its message sharp and vivid. "He belongs to the abducted," it declares, "just as you do, a shard from numerous souls. Inquire about Sendaris. The term Sendaris rings utterly foreign to me. It evokes no associations. Nevertheless, I utter it openly, scrutinizing Varric's response. The impact strikes swiftly and deeply. His weapon hand quivers subtly, a twitch undetectable to outsiders, but plain to one like us. His mental barrier, lately a fortress of controlled cognition, wavers with bewilderment. "How could you possibly recognize that word?" he presses, his tone echoing emptily from his visor. I relay the facts. The term means nothing to me. The murmur urged me to voice it. We linger motionless for an extended pause, two fighters teetering on the verge of clash. Then, with measured intent, Varric eases his sword downward. "Whispers plague me as well," he concedes. "Ever since this operation's inception, I dismissed them as trials of my faithfulness, dispatched by the chaplain to gauge my fortitude. Unknown identities and locales, scraps of recollection alien to my own. This revelation alters the landscape entirely. With Varric enduring comparable disturbances, it defies mere haphazard decay. Intent drives this, a design, an element tied to our objective, to Phobos Tertius and its million vanished spirits. A truth we must unravel for victory. We pledge mutual silence for now, pending clarity on its import. Such defiance invites mind wipes back on Titan, should we survive to arrive. If we do." The ensuing voyage days unfold amid mounting strain. Varric and I project routine conduct, joining rehearsals and devotions with our customary rigor. But in stolen intervals amid tasks, we swap details on our auditory visitations. They align, yet diverge. Mine urge recall, his urge emergence. Mine resonate with the depth of eras and insight, his pulse with the fervor of vigor. On the eve of arrival at Phobos Tertius, in the pre-slumber hour, the murmurs within coalesce into a unified directive. It arrives not audibly, but as unfiltered cognition, evading my senses to commune straight with my core. "You were not always Malus," it conveys. "Prior to the Grey Nights, before the neural purging and the indoctrination rites, you bore a different identity, a separate existence, as every brother did. Vestiges of those epochs endure, entombed under strata of mental wounds. On Phobos Tertius, those remnants shall rise anew. The divide amid the boundary between what was and what is has worn thin. The departed now converse with the living anew. Steel yourself, shard of countless spirits, steel yourself to reclaim what was stolen from you." I remain restless for hours after, pondering those phrases in my thoughts, scrutinizing them from all sides. Might they hold truth? Could we Grey Knights be something beyond the limits we've been taught? The consequences unsettle deeply, veering close to blasphemy, but I find it impossible to ignore them. That voice holds a certainty that echoes inside me, touching strings I never realized were there. When slumber at last overtakes me, visions swarm with unfamiliar visages. Figures, male and female, shouting identities I don't recall, combat zones I've never witnessed, foes that seem trivial beside the terrors I've confronted. As a Grey Knight, perhaps a existence or existences that once were mine from a self long forgotten. I stir to the blare of the vessel's alert. Sirens wail. We've reached Phobos Tertius. The globe dominating our observation screen scarcely matches the haven planet outlined in our mission summary. Its crust, formerly arrayed with the precise designs of imperial design, now twists under invasive biological sprawl. Enormous vines of tainted tissue snake out from the main instruction center, stretching toward the high skies like appendages of a colossal beast. The whole sphere throbs with a sickly glow, its cadence echoing the pulse of some organism gripped by delirious sickness. Our assault vessel slips into position with care, its scanners sweeping the terrain for traces of our quarry. The data defies logic. The organic mass blanketing Phobos Tertius shows as both vital and lifeless, biological and synthetic, charged with psychic energy yet devoid of soul. It's as though the planet is twisted into a contradiction, a riddle without resolution. Grandmaster Varden calls us to the bridge. His weathered features reveal no feeling while he pores over the readings, though the intensity of his mental aura has grown, signaling his unease. His words come steadily when he addresses us, concealing the severity of our plight. Our target resides at the core of the Chief Instruction Center. It has fused with the planet's framework, repurposing the corpses and psyches of deceased psychers as components for its evolving shape. We'll advance straightforwardly, teleport straight into the structure, battle through to the inner sanctum, and eradicate the being before it finishes its metamorphosis. With it purged, we'll pull back as the Armada initiates exterminatus measures. The strategy is straightforward, refined in its simplicity. It also amounts to probable doom. No one voices dissent. Perishing in the Emperor's name is the destiny forged for us. Victory alone matters, endurance does not. While gearing up for the jump, the murmurs grow sharper. They blend no longer into separate tones, but into a multitude, scores, or maybe hundreds of essences grazing my consciousness. They carry snippets of recollection, fragments from existences I never knew. A rural youth on an agricultural planet gazing at tyrannid craft plunging from the heavens, an underhive thug battling for turf in some obscure world's depths, a progenium learner thriving in psyker drills only to fall to the black ship's grasp. These can't be my own pasts, yet they strike as vividly as any moment I've endured as a gray knight, vivid in ways untouched by the detached precision with which I've endured 3 centuries of battling demonic forces. I glance at Varric, positioned next to me in the teleport chamber. His expression, now bare since his helm locks to his waist, forms a visage of focus. But under that controlled shell, I detect inner chaos akin to mine. He, too, recalls paths he never walked. Before words can pass between us, the transfer process ignites. Existence unravels about us, our atoms broken down and hurled into the immaterium, steered by the vessel's guides to our mark. For an instant, we persist as mere data, exposed to the warp's lurking horrors. Then, amid a burst of shifted atmosphere, we reassemble. The sight before us resists simple words. We occupy the remnants of the grand foyer in the primary instruction center. The arched roof, once etched with depictions of the Emperor's triumphs, now droops under dangling protrusions that flicker with foul luminescence. The stone tiles have given way to a mat of squirming tissue, every slab transformed into a maw that wheezes and whimpers with mortal cries. The atmosphere hangs heavy with decay's reek, a fog of putrid flesh and electrical tang that would crush unaltered human perception. Even past our visor's purifiers, the odor presses close to unbearable, a tangible emblem of the moral rot that has seized this orb. We arrange into a protective ring, storm bolters at the ready, sweeping for nearby dangers. None emerge. The chamber lies vacant, except for the mutations twisting the architecture around us go unchallenged. This lack of opposition worries me more than a sudden assault ever could. It hints at the foe's arrogance, their conviction that we're hardly worth the effort. Grandmaster Varden gives the signal to press on. We advance in flawless unison, every warrior guarding a sector of firepower. Our actions flow from ages of drills and the faint psychic bond binding us. Our footfalls crunch over the pulsating ground, which shrinks away from us like it's suffering. To the warp's monstrosities, we Grey Knights represent utter revulsion. Our mere being defies their twisted world. Drawing nearer to the main passage that guides us toward the objective, the murmurs in my thoughts intensify, turning urgent. They don't seem foreign anymore. They're surging up from deep inside, remnants of the past piercing the walls built into me at my forging. I fight to stay sharp, gripping my bolter firm and clearing the fog from my head. Next to me, I detect Varric wrestling the same inner fight. The initial strike hits out of nowhere. The roof rips apart overhead, unleashing a flood of warped meat cascading toward us. Not the demons we'd anticipated, but the altered remains of this shrine planet's old residents. Their shapes have been warped beyond recognition, appendages stretched and duplicated, hides peeled away to bare sinew and fibers, gazes swapped for throbbing spheres of warp essence. Even so, amid the horrors, their features still echo humanity, locked in masks of torment and hopelessness. We snap into response without delay, lifetimes of preparation crushing the brief jolt of familiarity. Storm bolters thunder, every sanctified shot striking true, ripping apart the tainted tissue with savage precision. My nemesis force halberd hums to life as I ignite its energy field. The edge flares with mental might while it lops off arms and skulls from the horde swarming us. They're plentiful, yet brittle, their revamped frames trading durability for grotesque looks. The real peril lies in the psi force throbbing inside them. When they perish, it bursts free in surges of unrefined warp might. Each explosion pounds our psychic barriers like siege guns battering a bastion. For ordinary space marines, even ones versed in lore arts, this barrage would shatter resolve. For our order, it's just draining. Our safeguards endure, but I sense the pressure mounting with every tainted psyker we fell. It's akin to denying air beneath the waves. Bearable at present, yet not forever. We drive ahead, carving a wake of butchered remains in our path. The hallway tightens as we go, surfaces contracting not by motion, but via the buildup of protrusions and corruptions blooming like mold over all it touches. Before long, we're down to a line abreast, Grandmaster Varden at the front, me right behind, the rest in rank of experience. In this exposed lineup, the next barrier emerges. The deck under us turns to sludge, shifting from firm substance to a sucking mire in mere moments. We start to submerge, the vital matter yanking at our plate, eager to haul us into its abyss. At the same time, the sides awaken with armaments. Not the rough organic limbs of the mutated mind witches, but genuine imperial arms fused into the organic structure. Laser guns and autocannons, their muzzles now fused with tissue, their workings driven by writhing cords of brawn. They unleash hell, a storm of laser lances and slug volleys zeroing in on us. Our aegis plate soaks up the brunt, its stacked ceramite slabs and mental runes turning fatal hits aside for any run-of-the-mill Astartes. Yet, we're marked. Brother Thu, bringing up the end, catches an autocannon slug on his left shoulder guard. The blow twists him half about before he regains footing. Grandmaster Varden counters with measured rage. Lifting his nemesis force sword aloft, he pours his vast psi potency into it. A surge of sheer might explodes from the edge, crashing into the barriers and roof, wrenching the foul guns loose and blasting an opening. With a mental command, Varden triggers his teleport homer, tied to the strike cruiser's beam-out chamber. In a flash, he fades away, reappearing 10 men forward past the melted section. We emulate him in turn, each firing our devices for the brief warp skip. Deploying such beam tech carries hazards. Every firing tears a fleeting gap in the barrier dividing reality from the immaterium. A gap the beasts we pursue might twist to their gain, but staying mired in the animated bog is no option. As I solidify next to Vian, the voices in my skull sharpen into one dominant recollection. I glimpse a youth scarcely older than 12, Terran years confined within a barren compartment on a shadowed vessel. His eyes burned red from endless tears, his frame hunched in utter resignation. Opposite him looms an interrogator, visage concealed by an ornate mask of silver and gold. The interrogator pushes a data slate toward him over the surface. Etched upon it is a pact inscribed in lofty high Gothic, its intricacies beyond the youth's grasp. "Affix your mark here," the Inquisitor intones, "and you shall serve the Emperor in capacities beyond mortal ken. You will be forged anew into an entity surpassing humanity, a blade against the direst perils humanity has ever confronted or rejected, and we shall end you immediately as a harbinger of taint. The decision rests with you, though it marks the final one you will ever claim." The youth inscribes his name, driven not by valor or faith or insight, but by raw terror alone, of oblivion, of the abyss yawning beyond, the purest impulse of mankind. A jolt of stark awareness hits me, that youth is my former self, not Malas the Grey Knight, but the soul I once inhabited. This recollection bears no false imprint, no warp-spawned illusion. It is unvarnished reality, long entombed under veils of indoctrination and mind-sculpting rites, now emerging in this realm where the veils between then and now fray. The insight surges to engulf me, yet ages of rigorous control reclaim their hold. I seal the vision deep within, turning my will to the imperative before us. Contemplation can wait, should we endure. At present, only the route ahead matters, the foe in wait, the obligation we bear. We forge onward, delving further into the tainted core of the complex. The passages coil and diverge in patterns that mock the schematics we reviewed en route. It seems the edifice pulses with life, its contours warping to disorient and isolate us. Solely Grandmaster Vardarden's unwavering navigational instinct, attuned to the Emperor's light, steers us true. The assaults persist. Barrages of tainted psychers mingled with cunninger barriers. Bulkheads that ooze corrosive bile, deck plates that erupt into jagged spikes, striving to pierce our armor's seams and rend the meat below. Overheads that unleash spectral infernos, blazes that sear the psyche over the flesh. Amid this onslaught, we push forward, our ranks thin. Brother Morai perishes as a bulkhead bursts asunder, exposing a brood of former human newborns, twisted into seething clusters of fangs and osseous horror. They engulf him ere he levels his armament, gnawing through his plate at vulnerable spots to claw at the vitality inside. His agonized wail reverberates both in air and ether, a dual assault on our resolve. Brother Kell follows, vanishing as the ground collapses underfoot, plunging him into the void beneath. His storm bolter's thunder rolls for minutes more, a relentless cadence of annihilation that falters, then fades to nothing. We press on without retrieval. The objective demands it, no matter the toll. Upon arriving at the heart chamber, a mere 6 endure. Grandmaster Varden, I, Varek, and 3 comrades. We have crossed almost 2 kilometers of fouled ground, every span exacted in sanguine and warp-touch toll. Fatigue eludes us. A Space Marine's augmented form defies such frailty, yet we are lessened. Our warp reservoirs ebb, our munitions dwindle to dire straits. The portal to the heart chamber confronts us, a colossal slab of adamantium warped by the Immaterium's blight. Where the Imperial Aquila once gleamed, grotesque carvings of tormented visages now writhe, each frozen in peak torment. The features stir, lids fluttering, jaws straining in muted pleas for absolution or respite. Grandmaster Varden strides to the barrier undaunted. His palm meets its foul skin, and for an instant I glimpse not our unyielding leader, but a weary elder, wearied past endurance, shouldering a weight scarce imaginable. The vision slips away. His frame rigidifies, and warp force surges from his glove into the defiled alloy. The door's countenances howl as one, a cry that pierces beyond sound to flay our thoughts with barbs of sheer spite. Then quiet descends, the carvings crumpling inward, the substance softening like tallow to form a breach wide enough for passage. Within awaits our goal and the wellspring of the blight that has seized Phobos Tertius. The heart chamber of the indoctrination site was once a grand arena, crafted for elder psychers to exhibit arts before multitudes of pupils in unison. Now it warps into a vista beyond sane depiction. The stepped benches have liquefied and recast into rings upon rings, each forged from vital human trunks, their nether parts melded to the frame, their limbs thrust skyward in endless entreaty. At the core, where the exhibit platform once lay on there it looms, the being we've arrived to eradicate. Its shape twists and morphs endlessly, refusing to hold any fixed form. In one instant, it mimics a colossal human heart, with pulsing veins and arteries stretching out to merge with the chamber's organic walls. Moments later, it becomes a churning whirl of faces, thousands upon thousands, each one the visage of a psyker lost to the planet's early taint. Then, it transforms into a towering beam of raw light, intense enough to sear the eyes, though its center harbors an unnatural void that devours the glow it emits. There's a haunting allure to its terror, a corrupted symphony that reveals chaos's cruel creativity alongside its vicious intent. Gazing at it stirs an unforeseen reaction in me, not the dread, revulsion, or holy wrath that my brethren are sworn to embody. Rather, a chilling familiarity washes over me, a bond I never anticipated. The presence registers our arrival. Why wouldn't it? We embody utter defiance against all it stands for, 6 armored sentinels arrayed against incarnate shadow. It communicates not through sound, but straight into our thoughts, slipping past our mental shields as though they offer no barrier at all. Brothers, it intones, the term laden with equal parts grief and delight. You've finally returned home. Grandmaster Varden replies not in speech, but in motion. He lifts his Nemesis Force sword high and surges forward, his velocity defying the weight of his venerable years. We trail behind, fanning out to assail it from every side, executing maneuvers honed over endless ages. The entity offers no resistance. It stays rooted in the chamber's midst, its contours still rippling and evolving. When Varden's weapon connects, slicing through the demon's fluid essence, the voice echoes once more. Milan, it murmurs, invoking a name utterly foreign to me. Is this the path you truly crave? The Emperor's unyielding enforcer, devoid of will or mercy, purging planets on blind faith alone. Behold me, and glimpse your true reflection, not the shell you forged, but the essence you were destined for, the potential that lingers within. Varden falters, his blade lodged deep in the creature's bulk. For the first time across the 3 centuries of my service to him, uncertainty flickers across his face, a rare crack in the unassailable resolve that marks a grand master of our brotherhood. Seizing the pause, the entity retaliates. Threads of warped tissue burst forth from its body, coiling around Varden's limbs, chest, and throat, hauling him toward its core. He resists fiercely, his mythic power pushing back against the perverse restraints, yet they refuse to yield. Gradually, relentlessly, he's pulled inward, his gleaming plate vanishing under waves of tainted meat. We unleash our arsenal without delay, pouring out the wrath of our surviving arms. Stormbolters thunder, bolts guided by instincts forged in millennia of drills. Nemesis blades ignite with warp flame as we pour our energies into them, hacking at the appendages, ensnaring our commander. But for each one we cleave away, a pair regenerates, and Varden's plunge into the entity's depths persists. Brother Seraphel perishes first. As he slams his Nemesis demon hammer into the writhing bulk, a visage emerges right in front of him on its surface. It's his own likeness, but untouched by the present. Smooth-shaven, etched with the marks of endless combats. This version appears youthful, unmarked, surrounded by flowing locks, and etched with serene reflection, the countenance of a thinker untouched by the battlefield. Seraphel halts, his hammer poised mid-swing. In that split second of doubt, doom descends. A lance of solidified gore lances from the mass, punching through the visor of Seraphel's helm and into his skull. Death claims him in an eye blink, his corpse crumpling rearward, his soul's agonized wail stifled before it can rise. Brother Thu follows swiftly. While he unloads his stormbolter into the heaving form, it reshapes into a youthful female figure, her countenance twisted in reproach and hurt. Thu's barrage doesn't waver, shells ripping apart the spectral woman. Still, his mental aura flickers, uncertainty and unwelcome insight seeping into his ironclad focus. A whip-like tendril snaps forward, snaring his leg and yanking him askew. Others swarm in, shrouding him in a sheath of foul tissue that crumples his plating like foil. The ceramite shatters inward, shredding his augmented vitals. 2 more comrades gone in mere instants, leaving our squad at 3, Varric, Brother Kazan, and me. We press the assault undeterred, our movements locked in harmony from ages of shared drills. Each guards the flanks of the rest, our volleys zeroed on the entity's nucleus where Varden vanished. It proves futile. The being's dominion is overwhelming, deeply rooted in this nexus of warp echoes. It plays with us, letting our blows connect harmlessly while retaliating with probes that probe our ward's limits. Without fully devoting itself to our annihilation, it's observing us, deciphering our habits, our vulnerabilities, gearing up for whatever comes next. Kazan grasps this sooner than anyone. Retreat, he transmits via our mental connection. It's playing games with us. We need to pull back and alert the fleet to initiate exterminatus without delay. He's spot on. Naturally, the operation guidelines permit that choice. Should the objective overwhelm us in close combat, satellite strikes turn into the go-to strategy. Still, I waver. Varden lingers inside the creature, maybe clinging to life. Backing off at this point means leaving him to an end grimmer than oblivion. As I grapple with that call, Kazan acts on his own. He triggers his teleport homer, readying a jump back to the orbiting strike cruiser. The entity responds in a flash. Its whole body rushes ahead, swallowing Kazan just before the beam-out finishes. Briefly, his shape shows through the tainted bulk, a shadow of gleam amid the gloom. Then he's erased, his vital readings fading from my suit's scanners. Now it's just Varric and me, positioned guard to guard amid a room turned into a killing ground for the Emperor's finest soldiers. The outlook is worse than grim. It's futile. But yielding isn't part of who we are, not baked into our training. We'll battle on until we can't, then trigger the psychic kill switches in our armor, making our ends into ultimate rebukes to the foulness encircling us. While we brace for this final resistance, the entity vocalizes once more, its tone echoing from every direction like the whole space has morphed into its vocal organ. You fail to grasp the foe before you, scraps of pilfered spirits. I'm no adversary to you. I'm your redemption. I'm the destiny you were forged to embrace. Visions swarm my thoughts, rushing by too swiftly and in such volume that full grasp eludes me. A multitude of expressions, a multitude of existences, each concluding identically. Chosen by the black vessels, shipped to Titan, the ceremonies of cleansing and mental erasure that reshape everyday psychers into gray nights. Yet there's additional knowledge I was never intended to uncover. I behold the real essence of how we came to be. The way 1,000 psychers perish to forge one gray night, not simply via indoctrination and soul-altering operations as indoctrinated in me, but via a method vastly more horrific and deep-reaching. The top prospects endure pieces of their souls carved out and fused, birthing a merged entity brimming with psychic might. Those contributors don't endure it. Their leftover soul shards, fractured and partial, get fed to the Emperor's seat, kindling for the Astronomicon that steers mankind across the warp. I'm no single soul refined and cleansed. I'm 1,000 souls, their cores reaped and woven like a patchwork, their separate selves dissolved into a fresh whole. A soul amalgam born from rites the Inquisition would brand as blasphemy if anyone but their own undertook them. Varric absorbs these identical sights. I sense his dread and doubt echo mine. The iron control of a gray night fracturing beneath disclosures too vast to hold. But under the dismay lurks a grim acceptance too, a truth finally owned after ages of suppression. The entity exploits this not through bodily assaults, but via further disclosures, further recollections pried from the buried depths of our blended psyches. It reveals the visages of those whose soul pieces form our cores. Reveals their stories, their dreams, their terrors, their unknowing offering to shape us. These are your kin, the entity declares. Not the comrades who fell on this venture with you, but the souls plucked to build you. Souls who had no say in their path, who believed they were honing skills to honor the Emperor, only to get broken apart like ore in a smelter. Don't you owe them beyond mere loyalty to the architects of this horror? Don't you owe them memory? At minimum, I yearn to dismiss these insights, to cast them as fiendish deceptions aimed at eroding my will. But I can't. The recollections it has freed bear the undeniable heft of reality, vibrating with aspects of myself I never realized were there. Aspects designed to stay interred eternally. Next to me, Varric sinks to a knee, his nemesis force sword slipping from slackened grip. His mental aura, usually a bastion of ordered focus, now churns as a tempest of disarray and torment. I shift to shield him, stationing myself betwixt his exposed self and the being that has demolished our team. Why reveal this to us, I challenge, voicing it openly and through the mind? What goal does this awareness achieve besides agonizing souls powerless to alter the past? The entity's shape morphs once more, assuming a human-like contour made of countless countenances, each tied to a psyker who perished to Kiar destroy the Grey Knights. At its core, where a human heart might beat, throbs a orb of radiant gold light echoing the Emperor's psychic essence, though altered. Cleaner, maybe, untainted by endless ages of torment. You possess the power to alter it, Malus. The being responds. You and your fellow brethren. You were forged as instruments to combat chaos. Soulless implements grasped by an imperium gripped by such terror of decay. that it has morphed into the very monstrosity it dreads. Yet you could rise above that. You could embody the Emperor's genuine design before the Inquisition twisted his ideals. Sentinels of humankind who recall the essence of humanity. Fighters who battle not from rote loyalty, but from devotion to those they safeguard. It stretches out a limb woven from fused visages, extending toward me in a plea that feels nearly imploring. Unite with me, Malus. Let me reclaim what was stripped from you, not merely your recollections, but your humanness, your ability to decide. Transcend mere armament, reclaim your place as a person. The proposition tempts with its straightforward allure. To recall, to experience, to feel complete once more, to surpass the animated blade I was shaped into. For an instant, I nearly yield. Then, duty floods back. The vow I made not as a terrified boy seized by the black ships, ignorant of the fate ahead, but ages afterward, once I had evolved into my current self. A pledge to shield humanity from terrors beyond its grasp, to resist the shadows that devour every trace of life and aspiration. A commitment I have honored across 3 centuries of conflict against humanity's most formidable foes. I lift my nemesis force weapon, halberd, pouring all my leftover psychic might into its edge. The blade ignites in azure flames, throwing stark silhouettes over the tainted room. With a silent roar, infused with the rage and sorrow these disclosures have stirred within me, I surge forward. The entity offers no resistance. It observes my advance with boundless sorrow etched upon its myriad countenances. As my strike lands, slicing through the bulk of its body, it utters one last declaration. You opt for bondage rather than liberty, tool over individual. So it shall be. But heed this, Malus, shard of countless spirits. Truth defies erasure. Memories resist reburial. You will bear this awareness to Titan, and it will propagate among your kin like a contagion, not of taint, but of enlightenment. And once sufficient numbers of you recall your authentic nature, the acts that birthed you, the decision will recur. I endure. I can bide my time. As my weapon cleaves the luminous core within the entity, a warp blast erupts across the space. The shockwave hurls me aside, my plate soaking up the brunt as I slam into a defiled barrier. Alert glyphs ignite on my visor readout, signaling harm to various mechanisms. My augmented frame adjusts, dampening agony on instinct, injectors releasing boosters to sustain alertness and battle readiness. When sight returns, the entity has vanished. A pit of charred rock marks its absence. The foul proliferations blanketing the area shrivel and darken as the force sustaining them fades away. Varden rests in the crater's midst, his armor fractured and steaming yet whole. His vital signs ping on my sensors, faint yet stable. Varric remains kneeling as I positioned him, gaze lowered, his blade idle beside him. I near him warily, unsure of his psyche following our shared upheavals. As he lifts his eyes to meet mine, tears streak his features, an outpouring of feeling unseen before in any of our chapter's sons. Is it real? He inquires, his tone scarce above a whisper despite my augmented senses. Are we indeed monstrosities born from the slaughter of purity? I lack a response for him. That holds no deception. Rather, I assist him upright, reclaim his sword, and return it to his grip. The task remains unfinished, I inform him. We need to ferry Varden to the vessel and alert the Armada to initiate exterminatus. Moments for inquiry will come afterward. It's a hollow assurance, and we recognize it as such. No space exists for such probes in a Grey Knight's existence. Posing them risks cleansing rites, neural wipes, or even termination as carriers of peril. Still, the inquiries have surfaced, and they endure. The reality has surfaced, and it persists. We hoist Varden's limp body together and engage our teleport beacons. Amid a rush of shifted atmosphere, we materialize aboard the strike cruiser, hovering in the void. The machine priests and serfs of the chapter hurry to convey Varden to the apothecarium. Their expressions convey fitting worry for a downed Grand Master, yet reveal no hint of the events below. How could they? They perceive only the Grey Knight's survivors from a mission that 9 of us set out on. A heavy toll in lives, no doubt, though hardly unusual in our relentless service. They can't perceive the hidden scars we bear, the cracks in the unyielding discipline that has shaped our order for millennia. As the Spear of Dawn pulls away from orbit, I transmit the command dooming Phobos Tersis to oblivion. The assembled Imperial Armada reacts without delay, vessels shifting to firing ranges, armaments powering up for the cataclysm they're primed to deliver. Soon, within mere hours, the world will crumble into a barren sphere of irradiated stone. Every trace of the events there wiped clean from the universe. Every tangible trace, that is. The recollections endure, searing my thoughts like unquenchable promethium flames. The visages of 1,000 warriors, each etching a piece of my essence, their existences, their ends, their unknowing offering to birth the instrument I've transformed into. And lurking below it all, a doubt I've long suppressed from my mind. Did it justify the price? No resolution comes to me. Maybe none ever will. What sustains me is obligation, the identical obligation that's always guided me, to defy the shadows, to shield mankind from abominations beyond its grasp, to embody the Emperor's retribution in flesh, his precision strike targeted at chaos's core. Yet now I grasp the true price of that obligation. Not merely the fallen comrades in combat, the siblings slain on gore-drenched battlegrounds spanning the stars, but the souls devoured to assemble every one of us. 1,000 spirits hammered into a lone gray night. 1,000 individuals denied any say in their destiny, promised devotion to the Emperor, yet melted away like ore in a smelter. Gazing at Phobos Tersis fading in the Spear of Dawn's observation port, I form a quiet pledge to those whose shards form my core. I won't merely uphold the role I was engineered for, but honor the warriors expended to bring me into being. I'll bear their legacy onward, a subtle defiance against those demanding I function as a soulless blade. It's scant solace. It alters none of the past deeds or those yet to unfold. But it's the sole tribute I can extend to them, the only way to pay respects to the involuntary offering that forged my form. I am Malus, Justixer of the Grey Knights, the Emperor's blade, sentinel against the warp's terrors. And I will not forget.